The first day was an early one. I woke up later than I wanted to, but I was able to wrangle up my things pretty quickly and be able to get down to UCO. I was extremely nervous. I'd never been even outside of the United States before, and I was about to get onto a bus with a bunch of people I didn't know and head all the way to Africa. And I was terrified. I was tired, but I couldn't sleep. And we did the entire drive to Dallas, and I made sure I was the very first person to get my plane ticket because I was absolutely anxious about the entire trip. And I already get anxious enough flying from Oklahoma to Houston, but flying from Dallas to Detroit to Amsterdam, I made sure that I had everything that I needed because I wasn't about to make myself be late. It wasn't until I'd taken off for the first time from Dallas to Detroit that I wasn't nervous. There's something about flying that's truly relaxing to me once I can finally just take off. And it just sank in that I was about to go on the journey of my life and get to experience so much world. And it wasn't exactly that feeling of exploration that hit me until we had finally landed in Entebbe. And we had all hopped onto a bus, and we were driving down the street, and I could just see buildings and hillsides lit up, and I was like, we're in Africa. And that was when it truly, truly hit me that I was on the other side of the world from literally everybody and everything that I knew. The next day, we all woke up to the sound of rain, and on my window it was hitting so hard that I couldn't have not woken up to it. I woke up, I finally got out of bed, and I saw a rainbow, and I was so excited for literally everything that was going to happen for this entire trip. I had an amazing breakfast, and I was extremely excited for the rest of the trip. So we all piled onto a bus, and we started making the trip from Entebbe to Gulu. And in that 6-hour bus ride, I had a realization that didn't hit a lot of other people until a very long time. I tried to take a picture of a road, but there was a police officer in the middle of it. And the police officer wasn't very happy with me taking the photo of him. And he was very upset with me. Very, very upset. And I had to stash my camera for a bit, and he lectured me about copyright. And it wasn't until then, and whenever we had stopped at another place for lunch, that I realized that this place wasn't home. This was a completely different place, with different people, a different culture, and I was the minority. I was just a tourist in their eyes, someone that didn't belong to many, in the eyes of many people there. And it really hit me right then. And for a lot of people, I realized that didn't sink in for a very long time, but it hit me right from the beginning. In the end, I'm very happy that it did. It taught me a lot very quickly. We finally got to Gulu in day 3 of the trip. And it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I missed a lot of the classes, so I wasn't entirely prepared for this, but I was very excited whenever I saw what Gulu was. I was expecting more of a city like Kampala, but it was much smaller, and it was much more... Rule wouldn't be the correct words for it. But I enjoyed Gulu a lot. And the next almost entire 2 full weeks I spent there learning and enjoying myself, spending time with as many people as I could, either from there or from away. I met Ivan the artist, and Vibes the artist as well, and the DJ. And Ivan taught me a lot about Uganda, and he taught me about the culture where people there enjoy getting things that are finished but not making things. And it made me realize a lot about how America was so innovative, and that we were trying to innovate everything from how you go to the restroom to how your car runs to how we can make air breathable to just being able to consolidate space better. It was, it hit me why some places are the way they are, and it's not just because of lack of resources, but it's just because people are fine with it. It's in the culture that people are just okay with the way that they are, and I know we had talked about that, but it never really hit me until Ivan told me that. But at the same time, people are trying to fix that, and they want Uganda to be innovative as well, and to be able to fix their own problems without having to other people do it. And it could also just be me being biased, being a computer scientist and trying to be innovative in most things that I do. It was shocking to me to learn that, but I also met a few other people while I was there. I met an Australian man named Vinny, who was very pessimistic on his entire view of Uganda, but he had a very special deal. He had gotten a girl pregnant whenever he was in his 20s, being a tourist in Gulu, and he's had to live there this entire time. He's been setting up schools, and each one of the schools failed because the people that were going to the schools just didn't care about it. And I know there's probably much more to it, but that's all I know. And he had a very pessimistic view on everything about Uganda whenever it came to the government, to politics, to just the people. And it soiled my view for a couple of days. There was a couple of days where I had a hard time just being around people, because I had the same pessimistic view that he had, where it's just everyone was trying to get something from me. And it wasn't until Jared Joe brought it up in one of our classes that it is, but that's because people need things. Because people are struggling and people aren't doing as well, and they see us and they think that we're all here to help, which we were. Which makes it even harder for me to truly understand, because we were there to help, and then at the end of the day, we couldn't help them in every way that they needed. And meeting Vibes was very influential to me, because I got to meet like the artists. Being somewhat of an artist myself, I've always loved meeting artists from different places, and just hearing about his like music creating process and his painting process was all very interesting to me, and just knowing that is very universal made me very happy to be there. And it made me realize a lot that cultures can be all very different, and the entire world can be very different as well. But there's some things that are just universal. Art is universal. Love is universal. Good food is universal. Everyone's got to eat, and everyone loves good food. It is genuinely one of my favorite things about Uganda was the food. But that was something else. We spent 2 weeks there in Uganda, and everyone had always said, I had heard it from Stockton and a few other people who had already gone, that the best part of Uganda was the friendships that they built and how important it was, these friendships that they made. They stuck with them forever after Uganda, and I didn't want my favorite part of Uganda to be the Americans. But it would be so hard for me to say that it wasn't, because I made some spectacular friends while I was there. I don't think that I will ever not be in touch with a few of the people that I made friends with in Uganda, and I love them all dearly. And I believe that the conversations that I had and the things that I've learned and seen about, and just there's so much more. This trip will never not be influential to me, and I will remember it for literally as long as I can. And it's very corny. It seems like an 80s movie trope to say that the most important part was the friends we made along the way, but it just might.